Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Sego ani buju wachaya kwe kwe. As the mayor of the city of Kingston, I offer these words in the spirit of this gathering. Let us bring our good minds and hearts together as one to honor and celebrate these traditional lands as a gathering place of the original peoples and their ancestors who were entrusted to care for Mother Earth since time immemorial. It is with deep humility that we acknowledge and offer our gratitude for their contributions to this community, having respect for all as we share this space now and walk side by side into the future. We were just meeting in Committee of the Whole closed meeting. We discussed labor relations or employee negotiations with respect to the IATSE Local 471. With that, I will ask for approval of, no, we need a motion to rise without reporting. Thank you.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Hall and seconded by Councillor Neal that Council rise from the Committee of the Whole closed meeting without reporting.
Please vote. Did Councillor Hutchison wander off? Madam Deputy Clerk, can I see you for a moment? We got a council meeting going on right now, guys. Just wanted to remind you. Okay.
Okay. For the councillors that have just joined us, we are voting. Oh, everybody's done. Pardon me.
And that carries. Thank you. Next, we have approval of the addeds. We have a presentation and a communication item on the addeds. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Neal, seconded by Councillor Rosanek. Please vote. And that carries. Are there any disclosures of potential pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we will move on to presentations. So we do have a presentation this evening. Walter Fenlon, Chair of the Grand Theatre Foundation, will present Council with a check as their annual contribution in support of the Grand Theatre and the Grand Theatre programming. Mr. Fenlon.
Your Worship and members of Council, it's a pleasure to be here tonight. I've been to Council many times before, but not necessarily before this particular Council. Excuse me. We make a presentation each year for the Council from the Grand Theatre Foundation, and this results in all the programming that we obtain and sponsorships. So this particular check is going to be for $75,000 for our contribution this year. But before I hand it over to the Mayor, my journey started with the Grand Theatre Foundation about 15 years ago. When we were tearing down the old one, and there was a lot of a big battle, put it that way, from council as to whether they should go ahead with it or not. Thankfully they did. We moved through that and down through the years. We are having tremendous success. We're having a lot of sold out performances. I'm just reading from the youth attendance shows are resulting in many sold out shows with classrooms on the waiting list, and performances are added wherever artists can accommodate to meet the new waiting lists. The other thing I wanted to mention for the staff at the Grand Theatre, they are really outstanding. As I go in there, I've never seen the enthusiasm, it's just high tense there. Everybody is on side to try and do a good job and bring a good performances, but it's a great working area. I've never seen it as good. And if you have time, maybe jot a little note to some of the staff, because they are really working hard. And I know they would appreciate it, and I would as well, to see them. So without any further ado, I'm going to give them, Your Worship, check for $75,000, and don't spend it quick.
That's great. Thank you very much. Okay, so moving on in the agenda, we have no delegations this evening, but we do have a couple of briefings. First of all, we have Gerard Hunt, Chief Administrative Officer, who will provide a briefing with respect to the City of Kingston 2016 Annual Report. C.A. Hunt.
Thank you, Mayor Patterson and members of council. It's a pleasure to present this, what we would refer to as a midterm report for your term. And you will all remember the strategic plan that you approved back in 2015, shortly after your mandate. It was finalized in 2014 and finalized in 2015. And this annual report, which by the way is distributed on your desk tonight and is available live on the city's website as a link, is available to provide a progress update for you. It builds on the report that was prepared by staff in December, which was a mid-year update with comments and progress analysis of the 31 or so strategic priority initiatives that were listed in this report. So tonight I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to go through and highlight some of the success for your term so far. So I think people will recall that particular scene from August 20th this year. Spectacular evening here in Kingston that put Kingston on the map and across the globe. A couple of messages and a nice picture of some nice folks on the right-hand side of the screen there. A bit of a summary and certainly your 6 priorities listed here, wording directly out of your strategic plan. This is an indication of the progress on each of those priorities and the 31 initiatives that are here, with 93% trending in the progressive direction. The 3 items that are not trending in a progressive direction, that does not mean they're going in a negative direction, they're basically still under development, is the development of a post-secondary campus downtown and some discussions related to that. Workforce and immigration strategy, which is currently underway, and we should have something for council to review by about April. And some work on high-speed rail and some of the efforts by CN and others in that regard, which hopefully this year we will have some additional information on. So certainly a nice report card at this point in time for you. The priorities, as part of those priorities, council asked the community and community partners to work together to advance a smart and livable city. And I would like to thank the community for accepting that challenge, and as council knows, much has been achieved collectively. The city by itself, it would not have the success without the community's involvement. I have a few highlights for you. Open for business. Embracing an open for business philosophy and smart city approach to investment, interest has been significant. In addition to a good housing market, a strong multi-residential and purpose-built student housing market, and a stable commercial market, industrial-type development has been very good and very strong, including 2 international companies investing and creating their North American head offices here in Kingston. Frulat from Portugal and Fahey from China, slated to employ over 300 direct jobs and over 1,200 indirect jobs collectively. Tourism. After completing an integrated tourism strategy in 2015 with the help of the Kingston Accommodation Partners, 2016 was a major year for new tourism marketing and a new brand, Fresh Made Daily, and specific growth resulting from the Tragically Hip Man Machine Poem Tour, the Kingston Penitentiary Tours, and Lumina Borealis, which has just extended to the end of February as a result of demand and success. The KP Tours alone brought over $5 million in economic benefit, created 60 jobs, and attracted over 60,000 visitors, and sets the stage for another successful year in 2017. Infrastructure work remains on track with the work complete on the Point Pleasant West End water plant and the second to last phase of the Big Dig in downtown on Princess Street, and work well underway on the Cataraqui Bay wastewater treatment plant in the west and the John Counter Boulevard project. Affordable housing. 2,300 households assisted in 2016 with housing programs including social housing, home ownership down payments, renovation funding, and rent subsidy programs, with 91 affordable housing units created since 2012. Public transit. Increased investment in public transit and express service to 10 minutes on routes 501 and 502, reaching 5.2 million riders in 2016, and an increase in pass holders from 2,731 in 2015 to 3,151 in 2016. With a special event ridership record on August 20th, the day of the Tragically Hip concert, of 30,000 riders. The next 5-year transit plan will target annual ridership of over 6 million. Homelessness and food security. 17% decline in total emergency shelter bed usage in the first 2 years of the 10-year plan that has a goal of eliminating chronic homelessness. And during the same time, 197 adult and youth-led households were supported to move from homelessness to transitional or permanent housing when new prevention/diversion programs have assisted over 1,000 households to maintain or move to more sustainable housing solutions, thanks in part to Loving Spoonful and the United Way. Completion of the KP Trail. For Canada 150 anniversary celebrations, I'm pleased to report that this is on track with 3.1 kilometers of road pathways now complete and 3.5 kilometers of off-road segments nearing completion. Enhanced waste management results. Reached the diversion target of 50% in 2016 and shooting for 60% by 2018. And as a result of citizen survey, achieved an 88.9% satisfaction rate for collectible services, not 89.3% satisfaction rate for blue and gray box recycling programs, and an 85% satisfaction rate for the green bin program. I would say custodians are supportive of waste management strategies. Kingston Penitentiary redevelopment. Worked with Corrections Canada and Canada Lands to engage the community in the future of KP and Portsmouth Olympic Harbour sites. Engagement included 143 interviews, 6 focus groups, 200 participants at 3 workshops, 90 emails, and 677 completed surveys. Decisions on this will be made in 2017. Waterfront Master Plan completed. 98 projects and $65 million plan to build better public access to 280 kilometers of waterfront over the next 30 years. Customer service excellence. Continued focus on customer service for this corporation. In 2016, the city's call center handled over 191,000 calls. The introduction of the Development Services Hub, or as we know it, the DAS system, used by the Planning Department to enable interactive client focus on applications as they move through the processes, enabling the customer, staff, and the public to monitor that progress. An open government and an open for business initiative. In 2017, that system will be rolled out to other departments to create improved access. At the counter, at the planning department, 98% of customers were satisfied or very satisfied with the service. Awards. Rogers K-Rock Center named Major Facility of the Year for the 7th time in 8 years, a nationwide award. Rideau Crest Home was awarded accreditation with commendation. And the municipality of the Festivals in Ontario program awarded Kingston as the Municipality of the Year. Citizen engagement. In 2016, we saw improvements to public workshops, surveys, and social media tools, enhancing public engagement opportunities on a number of initiatives, including, but not limited to, topics on the third crossing, the official plan update, the sign bylaw, airport land use, North Kingstown Development Plan, Kingston Penitentiary, and Portsmouth Olympic Harbor Visioning. And the job is definitely not complete, as we know. We have a ways to go, and we intend to complete that job. But it is underway, and we'll be getting more information to council in the first quarter of 2017. And with respect to some numbers, the city Facebook had 11,500 likes, up from 2,500 in 2014. City Twitter had 31,000 followers, doubled since 2014, and over 1,000 students engaged in local government. Ladies and gentlemen, as your Chief Administrative Officer, I want to thank the staff for the work that they have done. I want to thank the committee partners for the work that they have done. And most of all, I want to thank council for your leadership, your vision, and your community vision so that we can continue to build this great city. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Seeing none. Thank you. Great job. Okay, moving on to briefing number 2. We have Jennifer Campbell, Manager of Cultural Heritage, who will provide a briefing on information report number 1 with respect to Engage for Change YGK Reconciliation Journey, strengthening relations with First Peoples in Kingston within the context of Canada's sesquicentennial.
So thank you to your worship and members of council, also to members of public who are in attendance today, given the weather. I'm happy to be here tonight to talk to you about the Engage for Change initiative and the project that we've been privileged to be organizing out of the Cultural Services Department. Over the past several years, the Cultural Services Department has worked to build its relationship with the Indigenous community in Kingston through partnerships and supportive initiatives like the National Aboriginal Day, community powwows, and performances and engagement pieces, both educational and theater or performative arts. Things like the Royal Winnipeg Ballet Coming Home Star, or Wawate, a film that was hosted at the Kingston Canadian Film Fest. While building those partnerships, the Cultural Services Department also engaged in a community needs assessment to guide our understanding of our urban Indigenous community and also to develop our engagement and educational programming work. This involved a series of interviews and engagements with the urban community, and through that process, a number of recommendations have been made, one of which was to implement procedural bylaws, policies, protocols, and accords that recognize and value and embrace First Peoples' voices, experience, teachings, and learnings as respected and contributing members of the greater Kingston community. At a higher level of municipal engagement, the City of Kingston has also been building its relationship with the Indigenous community. Agreements between the City of Kingston, the Mohawk Nation Council of Chiefs to restore and protect Bell Island was an initiative in 2001. Following that, we have things like the annual proclamation in June, the honoring of the talking stick through Aboriginal Peoples Month. Alderville Commemoration Project is an ongoing relationship with the Alderville community to create a public art piece here in the city. As well, we have smudge ceremonies with council and committees. Community elders have been invited, an elder and a grandmother provided official welcome and reflection on the Sir John A. bicentennial in 2015. In addition, of course, we have the recognition statement that was adopted in June of 2015 to open council and bring us together as a community with our Indigenous membership. And as a next step in this relationship, and in response to the community requests and council directives, city staff have developed an 18 to 21-month project entitled Engage for Change, YGK's Reconciliation Journey, in an effort to build upon past relations and ensure that First Peoples are recognized as a vital part of our Kingston community. This project seeks to reframe the relationship between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people in Kingston, especially as it relates to the history of Kingston and culture. It relates to history, knowledge, and culture with the goal of developing a protocol that integrates First Peoples' identities, voices, language, and culture, and positions the city's contemporary community story within an inclusive historical context. In a commitment to equality and to honor Kingston's communities, the project name is multilingual. Engage for Change is also written here in Mohawk, translated to English as Let Us Embrace the Issue of Change. Also in Ojibwe, Let Us Get Engaged so Changes Happen. And in French, Contribute to Change. The Engage for Change logo mark you see here is a circular drum with 7 drumsticks striking in unison. In Indigenous culture, the drum is considered a center of life and the living heartbeat of Mother Earth. Because of this connection with the earth, the drum has the ability to heal and the power to bring people and communities together through communal and collaborative acts of drumming to a single beat. The 7 drumsticks each represent one of the 7 grandfather teachings: honesty, humility, respect, truth, love, courage, and wisdom. Funding for this sesquicentennial City of Kingston initiated project is drawing from the Working Reserved Fund, but also received $83,600 from the Government of Canada and the Celebration and Commemoration Program Canada 150 Fund. This is a multifaceted project that focuses on learning through inclusive dialogue, celebration, and performance, with much of the engagement taking place through a series of community-based talking circles that are further supported by public performances, as well as a year-long curricular program involving grade 7 and 8 students from across Kingston. Reconciliation is the main focus of these initiatives, with the main goal being the creation of a relationship protocol between the City of Kingston and local First Peoples community for Council to review and approve in 2018. This relationship protocol for Kingston is crafting a path for other similarly sized and situated municipalities within Ontario and beyond. We are not on territory, and we have an urban Indigenous community. And as a result, the protocol that we're aiming to help to develop here is in many ways going to set a course for other municipalities in a similar situation. Talking circles have been organized with 10 community partners, and each aims to educate, offer sharing, and an ability to input into the development of this relationship protocol. Each session is designed to provide all participants with a basic understanding of Indigenous cultural beliefs, basic history of Indigenous peoples, movements prior to European settlement, and encouraging the development of mutual awareness, understanding, and appreciation among participants. Areas of focus at these talking circles will include Indigenous peoples of Canada with a focus on Kingston and our surrounding territories, cultural differences in community communication and collaboration style, myths and facts that drive our relationships between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people in Kingston and in Canada. The release of the Truth and Reconciliation Committee report in December of 2015, along with the commemoration of Canada's sesquicentennial, has created some urgency in regards to the request for community-led cultural sensitivity, awareness, safety training, and at this time, staff proposed Council participate in the Engage for Change project as a way to fulfill the request for training that was called for at the time the Council adopted the recognition statement, and also to provide an opportunity for Council to help shape what is intended to become a relationship protocol between the City of Kingston and the local First Peoples community. So you see here just the list of talking circle dates and partnerships. And if you're interested in participating, these are all listed on the Engage for Change website, which is within the City of Kingston website, and you can approach community partners there if you'd like to be involved in one of these. In addition, we have a series of public performances taking place throughout the year. Just 2 are highlighted here. You see Tanya Tegak and Kahawe, a dance boot camp, and also performative piece called The Honoring, both of which are being offered through the Grand Theatre Presents show. We have additional offerings that will be made aware to the public on that website yet again, but these are some that we're highlighting at this time. In addition, in the briefing or the report that you're going to read or have read, we have the digital stories that are going to live on History and Innovation, one of the city's maintained websites where we host the stories of our community. In addition to our school programs, which we hope will feed into a regular delivery of programmatic offering to young students about what it was to be involved in residential school systems and how that feeds into our concepts and understandings of truth and reconciliation today. So with that, I thank you, and I invite you to join us and engage for change.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from council? Councillor Schell.
Thank you, Mayor Patterson. Thank you. Last time I heard Ms. Campbell, it was talking about archaeology, so you're a very wide-ranging skill set. Thank you. I did go to the very first talking circle. I had no idea what I was going into, and it was wonderful, and I really encourage everyone to go to at least one. It was incredibly informative and very tender. There were some very tender moments. About Engage for Change, you said it'll be a 2-year project. Did I understand that correctly?
So the conclusion of the talking circles will happen in September, early October of 2017. The expectation is that this will then produce a drafted protocol that would go before council in 2018 for adoption. But the program that we're really rolling out this year and that you saw in that sort of flow chart is really about the talking circles, the school curricular programming, as well as the performative components that are really focused on the sesquicentennial year and as a sort of a counterpoint to a complementary piece of those celebrations.
Okay, seeing no other questions, thank you very much. Okay, so moving on, next we have petitions. Are there any petitions to present? Councillor Neal.
Yes, thank you very much. I really enjoy presenting this petition. 2.5 weeks ago, I attended a Beyond Classroom session with a wonderful grade 5 class that had a very, very heated debate about skateboards in the city. And so it's with great pleasure that I present the following petition, Skateboarding on City Bike Lanes and Paths by the grade 5 Smarties. And this is the petition. We, the students of Molly Brant Elementary School, petition the City of Kingston to allow skateboarders the legal right to use bicycle lanes and bike paths throughout our city. Aside from designated bike parks, skateboarders currently have nowhere to skate legally. We believe that this is a safer alternative to skating on sidewalks because pedestrians are at risk due to the speed of skateboards. We believe that skateboarders should have a designated area to travel and not on the roads because roads are also too dangerous. We believe that skateboard riding is similar to bicycle riding in that they are both active forms of transportation. We, the undersigned, demand that the Kingston City Council allow for the legal use of skateboards on all city bicycle lanes and paths. And this is signed by the grade 4, 5, and 6 students of Molly Brant School. And in just over 2 weeks, they gathered 96 signatures. So I did share this with the district councillor, and she's also supported their idea of a petition. So it's with great pleasure that I present this petition, and if I could have it shared with our traffic engineers to be shared with our active transportation master plan consultants and EITP, that would be great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Petition has been noted. Any other petitions? Councillor Hutchison.
Thank you, Your Worship. I want to present a petition for a bike park in Kingston. I think the signatories are particularly interested in a bike park at Bell Park. And there are 52 signatures here. And attached to this is also, or associated, I think is a better word, with this is also a petition to do with Venture Park at Bell Park. So I'd like to present this to council and have it passed on to Mr. Falwell in Parks and Recreation and the Commissioner, Ms. Hurdle. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Moving on, we do have a motion of recognition moved by Mayor Patterson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Holland, that the thanks and appreciation of Kingston City Council be extended to Paul Schlesman, City Hall and features reporter for the Kingston Whig Standard, for his years of in-depth coverage of city business. We wish Paul all the best in his future endeavors. We will call the vote. And that carries. We have no deferred motions, so we will move on to reports. First, report number 22 from the CAO.
Moved by Councillor Stroud, seconded by Councillor Turner, that report number 22 from the Chief Administrative Officer consent be received and adopted.
So there are 4 items. Would anyone like any of them separated? Councillor McLaren.
B as in Bravo, please.
A, please.
Okay, so A and B have been separated. Okay, so first we will deal with the balance of items. So item C is the 2017 municipal by-election statutory bylaws. Item D, capital budget amendment and authorization to purchase a digger derrick truck. We will call the vote. And that carries. Item A, Kingston Rib Fest and Craft Beer Festival 2017. Councillor Neal.
Just very quickly, I just want to say what a great organization operate this, and it's in my district, and the constituents in the immediate area have never complained to me about this, have always enjoyed this event as they do the fall fair. So I appreciate city support for this.
Thank you. We will call the vote. And that carries. Item B, Commodore's Cove Pathway Lighting. Councillor McLaren.
Thank you. I've got some serious concerns with this, and if I may explain, here's the story as I understand it. A developer agrees to provide some public benefits, managing a system of lights and actually lighting a public pathway as a condition of building a condo complex at the waterfront. In other words, a deal in good faith was made. Now that they've built this condo complex, they want to be absolved of their conditions that were granted in exchange for building this complex. In other words, now that they have what they want, they do not want to keep their end of the bargain. That is the public benefits part. So they ask us to let them out of this deal and take on the burden ourselves. In other words, the waterfront condo owners want the rest of the city to look after their public benefits responsibilities and have the rest of the city pay for one of their community promises. This does not strike me as a good deal for the city. It's taking on an unnecessary fiscal liability and is therefore not fiscally prudent. It's also a legal liability. We have a firm contract through site plan. We don't have to do this. It is not necessary. And it will get a lot of others thinking of how they can get the city to take on their burdens. It sets a dangerous precedent for the future deals that we make under the formal community benefits section of Section 37 of the Planning Act. Because everyone who makes any future community benefits promises will know that they just have to wait for a compliant council to be able to get out of them. However, the report suggests that we need to do this for consistency of lighting and the quality of the waterfront experience. If these concerns are serious, we could really assist them with changing it as we see fit, but we don't have to assume the liabilities or the future costs. It has also been suggested that there may be a safety issue here. a safety issue that existed since 1991, but we can actually deal with that safety issue without taking on this liability. If it's because of the vertical seawall, we can put up our own railing there. It's our land. We don't have to take on this particular liability. It's also been suggested that we can get a formal service level agreement from the condo corporation. I find this actually rather ironic because they're trying to tear up one agreement in favor of a different agreement. But what's really at stake is their curbside appeal, their use of this particular pathway. And in my experience, property owners tend to look after their property, and they should look after what benefits them. I know that in my personal business, we look after the city's public boulevards. We cut their lawns and we keep it clean. And I think that's a lot of things that good residents do. It doesn't seem to me believable or credible that they would stop doing that just to get back at us for not absolving them of this. It has also further been argued that the amount is small and it won't break the bank. And while it might be small for some, it's not small for others, and it's still assuming a liability, an unfunded liability at this point for future costs. And we really shouldn't be assuming any new liabilities that don't really benefit us because we have a firm deal on this. So if you believe that justice has anything to do with honoring contracts, then this is an unjust request. And I have not been given enough reasons or any legitimate reasons to justify supporting this request. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Schell.
Thank you, Mayor Patterson. I'll take the contra side on that one. I have lived in the area for a very long time, and it actually took me quite a while to realize that this was public land, that this is a public walkway that has private lighting on it. And when I realized that this was what was happening and that staff were recommending the switch, I agreed to it because it didn't actually make sense to me that we had a public walkway with private lights on it that would limit us to what we could do. If we decided to change the lighting, bring in extremely efficient lighting, we wouldn't be able to. I also have appreciated over the many years that the condominium corporation has cleared this walkway, even though it's a city walkway. Yes, it was for their benefit to be able to walk on it, but it also meant that members of the public have been able to walk on this walkway for many, many years. So it has been quite a beneficial to both of us situation that's been going on. So I realize it was the developer way back. Maybe he made this deal so that it could be a little more attractive to sell. The condominiums developer is long gone. It's not a lot of lights, but it's very attractive. They are there, and I think it is time, many years later, that the city assumes lighting that is on city property and that we pass this recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Neal.
Yes, this kind of predates my first time on council. I was elected onto council in 1991, but I was the chair of the old Waterfront Walkway Committee, and I know that we worked very, very hard to create public walkways along our waterfront. And we did that through agreements with various developers, including this developer. And there wasn't community benefit kinds of agreements at that time, but through site plan, we were able to get commitments from some of those developers who quite willingly agreed to certain legal contracted commitments over time, and this was one of them. I know when I asked before, staff said that this would not be precedent setting, but I'd like to remind people that just across the street there's a hotel with a walkway agreement with the city that goes all the way around that hotel, and as hydro costs, as electric servicing costs go up, this may in fact indeed spur other groups to come forward and say to the city, it's a public walkway, we don't want to have to pay the lighting bills anymore. And I think a contract should be honored and should be respected. And I also dismiss the idea of people saying things like this is only $30,000 as we desperately try to keep taxes down every $30,000 is relevant. And for those reasons, I won't be voting for this tonight.
Thank you. Councillor Turner.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Patterson. When I first read this, it jumped out at me, and I thought, why are we doing this? So I made a quick call to staff, and I got some more information, which was very useful. I do agree, I don't want to spend $30,000 just haphazardly on something that didn't make a lot of sense at first. But when I had a long conversation, I found out there was some more information to this about liability and about an arrangement we've had for quite some time. And I'd like to call on staff member to explain this, because I'm sure they could explain it a lot better than I could, and with a lot more information about how much money that the lawn cutting costs and winter maintenance costs and services that have been dealt with that have cost a lot of money. And if we were not to do this, we would absorb these costs. So could I ask city staff for some information?
Mr. Follow.
Through you, Your Worship, in relationship to the annual costs, we've been working with our partners at Public Works, and they've identified that summer maintenance costs could be in the range of about $6,000 annually, and winter control costs of approximately $1,500 annually. So those are currently costs that the city is not absorbing. We have the relationship with the condominium corporation that's doing that, and they want to continue to honor that relationship moving forward with the report and recommendations tonight if approved.
And one more question about the liability. That concerns me. There was an accident there. I don't know if that was exactly where our liability would extend to, but in terms of liability, could you explain more to me about that, someone?
Ms. Nicholson.
Through you, Your Worship. So any city property is, I guess, potentially at risk for liability, if you will. So the walkway would already be one of our assets in that regard, and it would be considered ours in the event there was an incident or accident on that property.
So it would be more to our benefit then to control this asset in a stronger way.
Through your worship. So from the perspective of safety and in terms of the city making sure that we're taking every reasonable precaution as it relates to the walkway, that would be our general premise, that we would look to take those measures to ensure we were mitigating our risk.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, next on my list is Councillor Stroud.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm going to ask a question of staff as well. I must say I'm taking the concerns very seriously, and I'm not sure whether I can support this yet, but I'd like to clarify a couple of things. So the middle paragraph on page 10 of the report talks about a letter received from the president of the Condo Association asking for a one-time reimbursement to cover some of the costs of the lights for a 12-year period beginning in 2003, so 2003 to 2015, I guess. Asking for $15,000, so I guess $1,000 a year for 15 years. This seems to indicate that there was some kind of verbal commitment to this back in 2003, so I was going to ask about if staff could clarify what that means.
Ms. Nicholson.
Through you, Your Worship, in response to the councillor's question, back in 2003, there was some discussion that took place with city staff with respect to the same premise, I guess, that's being advanced today, in that the city owned the walkway, and as one of the assets of the city, that it made sense for the city to align the lighting on the pathway. Again, all of that being that we take every reasonable precaution to mitigate risk, and we'd have the ability to manage the lighting structure. So that was in essence what was talked about back in 2003. So essentially the same discussion that we're having today.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, staff is recommending that we do agree to the condo board's request and take over the asset of the lights and the costs associated, but that we don't give them a reimbursement of $15,000. Is that correct?
Mr. Folwell?
Through your worship, yes, that is correct. We would only assume any operating costs moving forward after we have switched over the services.
Right, so we would be responsible for the ongoing maintenance and energy costs of the lights, replacement of the lights, that kind of thing, something that they've been paying, and I'm assuming is sort of implied of that $15,000 is that they've paid for the last 15 years, and therefore they're asking for reimbursement, but we're saying, no, we won't reimburse you, but we will assume those costs in the future. Sort of a compromise solution. And then, as I understand it, the upside for the city is that they continue to do the grass cutting and the snow removal, as Councillor Turner just clarified. So we continue to enjoy that benefit. The cost to us is just for the lighting, and the sort of corollary benefit of that is that we have control over the lighting and the associated cost, but for liability issues and safety issues and general improvement of the walkway issues, and having full control is preferable and perhaps worth this extra cost. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Councillor Stanek?
Thank you, Your Worship. I agree with this recommendation. We're talking about a lot of lights. It's 33 low-level lights and then the 4 large lampposts, and I think that's a lot of lights for the condo corporation to keep up to the same level of standard as our regular city lights. The agreement was made such a long time ago, 26 years ago. If a new development was done today, it would probably be done differently, as our legal counsel had just suggested. One of our newest waterfront pathways is Battery Park, and today staff confirmed that those lights at Battery Park at Block D, they are maintained by the city right now. So because this is such a premium waterfront pathway, and it is totally beautiful when you go across there, I support this recommendation to bring it into the city. Thank you.
Councillor Hutchison?
Thank you, Worship. I can see that at least initially there's I understand the concern about the taking on the cost, expending the cost for the capital and taking on the added responsibility of the lighting. However, I think this is, first of all, this issue is like 25 years old, 26 years old this year. So quite a bit of water has gone under the bridge there. So but I agree with the issues about the management of assets and liability. And simply, I think from a staff point of view, as someone who also looks after capital issues, control is really important, in not having confusion about who owns what makes it much easier to manage. So, and this is especially true when you think that the asset is coming up for capital replacement renewal. And so that's one aspect of this, but is there a number of situations in the city in which we have public walkways with the appearance of private access and not public access? And it creates a confusion in the mind of well, perhaps everybody. I know in this particular situation, when I was looking at the pictures, it all came back to me, that there were residents of the condo who thought that it was theirs, okay? Because, I don't know, maybe because they paid for the electricity and for the lights and so on. And the public also thought it belonged to the condo in some cases. So I'm hoping that this will help clarify the situation and make it more publicly accessible, and that we will have a prominent sign saying this is a public walkway and it's accessible to the public. And I'm hoping that happens in general across the city where these sort of confusing situations are, where I've encouraged staff, as they will confirm, that we should have signs up that say, nice signs, you know, that fit the situation, that say, you know, this is a public walkway and is not owned by what might appear to be the private concern. So I'm willing to support this recommendation because of the financial aspects and the social considerations. Thank you.
Thank you. We will call the vote on item B. And that carries by a vote of 5-4. Okay, moving on to report number 23 from Planning Committee.
That's me. Thank you, Mayor Patterson. It's my pleasure to present report number 23 from the Planning Committee for Council's consideration. Thank you.
Moved by Councillor Shell, seconded by Councillor Neal, that report number 23 from the Planning Committee be received and adopted.
Okay, so there are two clauses. Yes, Deputy Mayor Holland, did you want to separate one of them? Okay, so we'll just deal with them separately then. So clause 1 is approval of an application for zoning bylaw amendment, 1100 Princess Street. Deputy Mayor Holland.
Thank you, Your Worship. I thought that we would be receiving some information as correspondence regarding this issue. It seems to be, maybe it's forthcoming, but just still didn't make it in time. So I thought I would pass on some remarks from the owner of Coffee Co., who is concerned with this zoning bylaw amendment and what the implications are for his business in particular. So currently, Coffee Eco has been established in the same plaza as the 1100 Princess Street location for a number of years. They had been interested in renewing a lease, requested a 5-year extension of their lease. Normally, they would be offered incentives to extend a lease. The incentives weren't offered. A 10-year lease was proposed, but this was considered to be too much risk for the business. So the overall concern of the owner of the business of Coffee Eco is that there is a provisional non-compete clause related to this development, as a Tim Hortons will be located at the site, and therefore his business will no longer exist, that they would be leaving, that their lease, which expires in about 1.5 years, will not be renewed. So I wanted to bring his concerns forward because I think it is important to note that the business that is currently located there, Coffee Eco, provides jobs to Canadian immigrants, donates to local food banks and charities, buys local organic milk, and returns thousands of dollars of profit back to poor farmers from coffee growing regions. I think they've been an excellent contributor to the community, and considering the implications of this zoning bylaw amendment and the business that would be locating there, and the contributions of this business relative to that one, I will not be supporting this proposal. Thank you.
Councillor Neal.
Yes. In an attempt to remain consistent, I continue to have some reservations about both the traffic implications of this and the fact that there was a minor variance from 30-some meter setback to a 3-meter setback. And so I wasn't in support of this at planning. And for planning reasons, I won't be in support of it tonight either.
Thank you. We will call the vote on item 1. And that loses by a vote of 3 to 6. On to item number 2, approval of an application for official plan and zoning bylaw amendment and draft plan of subdivision 700 Gardner's Road. We'll call the vote. Councillor Neal?
Yes, just very quickly, I am going to support this recommendation, but I just wanted to clarify a couple of points which were points that I had brought up before with planning. I'll wait until our planning director is free. Thank you. I know that we received a letter with quite a bit of detailed concerns. And those concerns were with the width of the roads. Quite frankly, under new urbanism, the idea of having narrower streets in residential areas, I think, is a positive thing, not a negative thing. But there were some concerns expressed about going from, I believe, 20 meters to 18. Could you comment on that?
Ms. Agnew?
Thank you, and through you. So there are a couple of local roads that have been proposed with an 18-meter right-of-way for this plan of subdivision. It's not entirely uncommon to see that in the city of Kingston. There's a number of other areas of newer development where an 18-meter right-of-way has been proposed. What our official plan currently says is it sets a general standard of 20 meters for the right-of-way, but it also says that staff may consider road widths of less than 20 meters without amendment to the plan. And you are correct that from a new urbanism point of view, when you're looking at compact residential form and development, a smaller right-of-way allows you to have a greater neighborhood feel, and it also allows you to reduce the overall footprint of what's being built.
And I appreciate that this is a grid design and not those god-awful cul-de-sacs that we're all trying to live with these days. So I appreciate that. My concern, and it may have more to do with site plan in future as this gets developed, but I would strongly suggest that we try to convince or request or make the developers have sidewalks on both sides of the street, and that we design walkways that will make the whole community more pedestrian friendly than some other subdivisions might be.
Ms. Agnew?
Just a point of clarification for council's consideration. So in the draft plan as it is now, there are two main roads that are within the plan of subdivision that will have sidewalks on both sides. Our current standard now in our official plan only allows us to request or require sidewalks on both sides of the road if it's either an arterial road or a collector road. All of the roads within this area are actually considered local roads for the purposes of definition in our official plan. So we were able to work with the developer to, like I said, get two areas of the subdivision that will have sidewalks on both sides of the road. And in the other areas, unfortunately, from our policy perspective, we can't require any more than a single loaded sidewalk.
Which is unfortunate. But as the design goes forward, any kind of pedestrian, I'm thinking of some very good subdivisions built in various decades in Kingston that have walkways that cut through and connect streets. So any kind of provisions for pedestrian walkways, I think, would be really positive with this development. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stroud.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just looking at the second item in the bylaw that talk about the official plan amendments, starting on page 32 or 102 of the package, right to the place where the clerk signs. The very last sentence in number 2, the city will explore opportunities for a recreational trail on the adjacent hydro corridor. Looking on the map, I'm assuming that's this corridor to the west of the lands in question that goes around in like sort of a backwards C. Is that correct?
Through you, that is correct. And if you also notice on the draft plan, what we've provided for at the south end of that part of the subdivision where we have the small cul-de-sac, we actually have a T walkway. It's a 6-meter walkway that would connect the potential trail area of the corridor through to where the park block is, and it also goes north as well. There are also a number of other smaller interconnections that are throughout the draft plan that allow people to do those cut-throughs so that you have the great neighborhood connectivity. That was one of our focal points from staff's point of view.
Thank you. So this wording that's in the bylaw would be directly added to the official plan, including that last sentence that I mentioned?
Sorry, could you repeat the reference?
Sorry, just clarifying because it starts, it's several pages, right? It's 1, 2, 3, 3.5 pages of wording, all under number 2. That's all as an official plan amendment? Like that's the last sentence of the official plan amendment, basically?
Through you, Mayor Patterson. So yes, that's correct. That is part of the official bylaw that's going to be passed in terms of the enabling policy for the area, and that's going to be explored further through the period where we go from a draft plan approval to a final plan of subdivision.
So the wording of that particular sentence could be altered with further drafts?
Well, the amendment as it's written here is how it would be passed. So there wouldn't be amendments from that language.
Okay, so that's the reason I'm asking, because that sentence, the city will explore opportunities for a recreational trail, doesn't specifically say there will be a recreational trail. It just says we'll explore opportunities, which isn't really a commitment to do anything in particular. So I'm just wondering whether that wording gives direction to staff to make a recreational trail possible on the hydro corridor.
The current draft plan, the way that it's presented to you tonight, the parkland dedication that you see, there's 2 parks that are within the draft plan, would represent 5%, and that's the amount that the developer is required to give as parkland consideration under the Planning Act. So the trail system that we've talked about, we have been in discussions for a potential partnership and connection there, but that would be above and beyond what the parkland dedication would be as part of this particular application under the Planning Act.
So as such, it's a non-binding suggestion that the developer does not have to honor.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, seeing no other comments, we will call the vote on item 2. And that carries.
Just a small point of order, if I may.
Point of order?
Yeah. We just voted down an application here, and I was under the impression that...
So that's what we just need to deal with right now, Councilor McLaren. Mr. Clerk, can I see you for a moment? Okay, just a question of clarification from staff. So item number 1 was voted down. So under new rules of the Planning Act, what does council need to do to accompany that negative vote on number 1? Ms. Agnew?
Typically, there needs to be some sort of provision from a justification perspective, from a land use justification perspective, why council was not in support of the application.
Okay, so what we need to do, unless somebody has that ready now, we need a motion from council to be presented that would provide a land use justification for why we voted down item 1. Do we have that motion ready?
Just as a point of order, if I
Yes.
may, one of the things that I was advised is that we can also add into the minutes verbatim what was said in council, and that can count towards what the OMB, if it ever comes to that, considers council reasons. In addition to that, I'd be happy to move a motion that a report come back to council from one of us.
Okay, so we need to make a decision tonight on what it is that we're going to do. So I'm going to call a 10-minute recess so that we can figure this out, and then we'll come back and take next steps from there. Okay, so we will reconvene at this point. If I can just get everyone to grab a seat, please. Okay, so after some discussion on this, I'm going to ask for a motion of reconsideration, please. Moved by Councillor Stroud.
And I believe it has to be moved by someone that voted in the direction that won, right?
Yeah, so a motion of reconsideration has to be moved by somebody that voted in the majority. Can I have a mover?
Yeah.
From somebody that moved by Councillor Stroud, thank you. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Holland. Okay, so
Do we need a reason for reconsideration?
No.
Okay.
So we will call the vote on the reconsideration of item number 1. Needs a simple majority because we're in the same meeting. Please vote. And that carries by a vote of 8-1. Okay, so item number 1 from report number 23 is back on the floor. Deputy Mayor Holland.
Thank you, Worship. Considering we have further work to do on our land use planning rationale for this application, for voting against it, I move deferral to the next council meeting.
Okay, so there's a motion to defer this item to the February 21st council meeting, moved by Deputy Mayor Holland. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Hutchison. Any debate with respect to time or place? Councillor Stroud?
Just a time, we would probably need to consult an independent planner to discuss land use rationale, and I'm wondering if there's anyone here that can answer the question whether 2 weeks is sufficient.
So I think we need to make this clear. So this is not a question that can go to staff. Well,
okay. So now I'll
staff have an
clarify.
answer for that.
The question is there a planner in the room that could speak to the amount of time required to consult an independent planner on the issue of land use planning rationale?
Mr. Clerk, can I? Mr. Clerk?
Through your worship, that's the type of question that can't be answered by staff. Staff have already made a recommendation, so they can't give you contrary advice. So that's not anything that staff can answer.
Ms. Nicholson?
Through you, your worship, I'm just summarizing what the obligations of the Planning Act require with respect to council when they're making these decisions. What Bill 73, as Paige referred to, is that the OMB has to have in regard to any information and material that municipal council received and reviewed in relation to the question. Written oral submissions from the public, those kinds of things in terms of making the land use planning decision that council did. So you're supposed to consider those things in accordance with the Planning Act.
Okay, that's not really my question, though. I have a different question that may be able to answer on time only, and that is there a time limit on the application under the Planning Act under which if we have not made a decision, that the application would be approved?
Ms. Agnew?
Through you, for a zoning application, typically we have 120 days as a municipality to make a decision, or for council to make a decision on the matter. I believe that we've already surpassed that time frame. So there is the appellant or the applicant at any point could appeal council on an inability to make a decision at this point in time. From a land use perspective, because you have a representation and a recommendation from staff in terms of the merits of this application from a land use planning perspective, it would probably be in better order for you to ask land use questions of staff and have us provide an answer, and if you don't find that sufficient, then you make your decision based on that information, as opposed to seeking a third-party planner's position at this point before the matter's been considered by council.
Councillor Stroud?
Sorry, I just need to clarify what you said before we act. It's been suggested that we defer this to come up with proper rationale for why we are saying no. However, the applicant could appeal at any time because we're already over the 120-day limit, which seems to, if I knew that information before we moved to reconsider, that would have affected my decision. So now I'm thinking that the answer to my question on deferral is that we're already over the time limit. So if we defer for any length of time, it increases the chance of an appeal. And I'm seeing nodding. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Holland, will you take the chair?
I take the chair and I recognize you.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask for a little bit of leeway from council on this. I'm going to try just to speak to time. So the rule is that if we're going to vote this down, we need to have a motion that spells out our land use planning rationale. I think council's in agreement that that's very difficult for us to word carefully and perfectly right here and right now. So a 2-week deferral will give us the time to be able to ask staff questions, to be able to craft a motion that can then accompany the negative vote on this particular item. And I think the 2-week time frame, that addition, is well worth that time to be able to do that. So for that reason, I would ask council to support the deferral. Thank you.
Thank you. I return the chair.
Thank you. Any other comments on the motion to defer? Thank you. Okay, so on that, we will call the vote on the motion to defer to the next council meeting. Please vote. And that carries by a vote of 7-2. Okay, report number 24 from the Arts, Recreation, and Community Policies Committee.
It's my pleasure to submit report number 24 from ARC, duly moved and seconded.
Moved by Councillor Neal, seconded by Deputy Mayor Holland, that report number 24 from the Arts, Recreation, and Community Policies Committee be received and adopted.
Okay, so there are 2 items. Number 1 is the Kingston Commemoration Policy. Number 2, approval of the Kingston Arts Council Plan for administration of arts funding for the Corporation of the City of Kingston in 2017. We will call the vote. And that carries. Information reports, we have one, Engage for Change, YGK Reconciliation Journey, Strengthening Relations with First Peoples in Kingston within the context of Canada's sesquicentennial. Okay, miscellaneous business, we have a number of motions. Number one, that the resignation of Miss Alison Goebel from the Kingston Environmental Advisory Forum be received with regret. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Schell, seconded by Councillor Turner. Please vote. And that carries. Number two, that the resignation of Ms. Thandi Piri from the Municipal Accessibility Advisory Committee be received with regret. Moved by Councillor Turner, seconded by Councillor Osanek. Please vote. And that carries. Number three, that as requested by the Greek Hellenic community of Kingston, Council approve the raising of the flag for Greek Independence Day on Sunday, March 26, 2017 in Confederation Park and at Princess and Division from March 27th until April 3rd, 2017. Moved by Councillor Neal, seconded by Councillor Turner. Please vote. And that carries. Number four, whereas there are sufficient vacancies to accommodate each councillor, therefore be resolved that the following members of council be appointed to serve on the undernoted committee board corporation until such time as the new councillor for District 1 Countryside is sworn in and able to participate in council deliberations. So for the Rural Urban Liaison Advisory Committee, we have Councillor Schell. The Kingston Municipal Nonprofit Housing Corporation, we have Councillor Neal. Whereas there are more applications from members of council than vacancies for the following committees, therefore be it resolved that the following members of council be appointed to serve under the undernoted committee board corporation until such time as the new councillor for District 1 Countryside is sworn in and able to participate in council deliberations. So the Nominations Advisory Committee, we have one opening and we have Councillor Neal and Councillor Schell. So we will take a vote, please. I'll ask if the clerk would do that, please.
Okay. Councillor Neal? Councillor Schell? We have 2 votes for Councillor Neal and 7 votes for Councillor Schell.
Okay, so Councillor Schell then will be put on the Nominations Advisory Committee. Whereas there are fewer applications for members of council than vacancies for the following committees, therefore be it resolved that the following members of council be appointed to serve on the undernoted committee board corporation until such time as the new councillor for District 1 Countryside is sworn in and able to participate in council deliberations. So we have spots on 5 different committees. So I will just read through them and I'll look for any volunteers. Administrative Policies Committee, can I have a volunteer, please? Planning Committee, can I have a volunteer, please? Cataract Region Conservation Authority, can I have a volunteer, please? Corridor Revision Drainage Act, Councillor Osanek, thank you very much. Sustainable Kingston, can I have a volunteer, please? Councillor Neal. Okay, so what we will do then is propose that we would move that motion with staff noting that Administrative Policies Committee, Planning Committee, and Cataract Region Conservation Authority will continue with a vacant position. Is that's agreeable, Mr. Clerk?
To your worship, we'll put wording into the motion such that those 3 committees will not have any council appointees at this present time.
Okay, thank you. So with that, can I have then a mover and seconder for the entire motion, please? Moved by Councillor Turner, seconded by Councillor Osanek. Please vote. And that carries. Okay, we have no new motions tonight. Are there any notices of motion? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, I'll ask for minutes, please.
Moved by Councillor Osanek, seconded by Councillor Hutchison, that the minutes of City Council meeting number 2017-04 held Tuesday, January 24th, 2017 be confirmed.
Please vote. And that carries. We have some tabling of documents and number of communications. Is there any other business? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk will ask for bylaws, please.
Moved by Councillor Stroud, seconded by Councillor Turner, that bylaws 1 through 3, 1 through 3, and 5 through 7, and 10 be given their first and second reading.
Please vote. That carries.
Moved by Councillor Osanek, seconded by Councillor McLaren, that Clause 11.34 of Bylaw Number 2010-1 be suspended for the purpose of giving Bylaws 1, 2, 3, and 7 3 readings.
Please vote. That carries.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Holland, seconded by Councillor Hutchison, that bylaws 1 through 3 and 5 through 10 be given their third reading.
Please vote.
Point of order. Did you?
Councilor McLaren?
We are not doing bylaw 4, right?
That's correct.
It says 1 to 10.
And that carries. Motion to adjourn, please. Moved by Councillor Stanek, second by Councillor Hutchison. Please vote. And we're adjourned. Thank you very much.